Corey A. Wilson.
And my name is Nikisha Wilson.
And you are now tuned in to the Wilson Podcast. The Wilson Podcast is set up to entertain, educate, and build a community around entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And today's no different. So today we have a question. Why customer onboarding makes or breaks retention? Now, I don't know if we really know if that is true or not, if it 100% makes or break. I'm sure there are other contributing factors, but let's talk about it.
Okay.
What do you think about the first 30 days and the customer's expectation of staying with you or not because of what happens in the first 30 days?
So I think even the first interaction, one of the things that I look for is how I feel. And feels aren't real. But one of the things that I think about is how I feel and how that business owner, or just not even the owner, the interaction with that business makes me feel. If it makes me feel seen, then I keep going. I've walked into businesses where we walked in and it was just like, wasn't even an acknowledgement. And as a result of that, I've walked out. So I think the first set of interaction, the first interaction is really important because it sets the tone.
Yeah, it does. And again, with the first 30 days, do you think it's more important to focus about, like you said, how you feel? Or do you think, or is that a contributing factor of having a process of how you interact with the person when you first engage with them? Like, do you think the process, whether you have a process or not, is that a factor?
As the consumer?
As a consumer, yeah.
I don't care what your process is. I just I just want to feel like you value my time and my dollars.
Okay.
And if I get that, I'm in. And if we start off that way, we're already on a good track.
For a service-based business, do you think that would still apply to a service-based business?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think even more, right? Because for a product business, it's an exchange. Like, I am giving you my hard-earned dollars, and you're giving me a tangible product that I can hold, use, or whatever. When it comes to service, I think it's even more important because I don't know what service I'm getting yet. So how first impression is even more important because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So the way that you address the first a week or so, first 30 days, right?
Yeah.
Is a reflection of what it's going to be in the future. And usually you get the best service initially. So if we're starting off and I'm not getting the best service, then that just kind of sets the tone for the future. Setting
the tone early in the engagement. What do you think are some of the things, I'll talk real quick on it so you kind of have an idea what I'm talking about, of like the first, as far as the service-based business, expectations, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that to start off, you should talk about what are the expectations of the service?
Absolutely.
What are you getting out of it? What is the exchange?
Yep.
Right. That's the first thing. Second thing is what I found with a majority of advisors from hearsay, haven't really looked it up and found out the numbers. But in our case, we're advisors. It's hard to quantify the value of an advisor that's coming into a business that's charging thousands of dollars to support a business owner. So what do you think about the deliverables and what could be some of the things on a deliverable list to make the first 30 days of engagement that much more valuable to the customer or client that they're serving?
I think timeline.
Okay.
Right? Like how long is it going to take me to complete this? I think expectations from the client, because
Clear
I
expectations.
can, right, like I can say this is what I'm going to deliver, but if that client is a bottleneck or becomes a bottleneck, then I'm not able to deliver on what I say I'm going to deliver.
So I'm gonna just jump in for a second. So with that being said, do you think client engagement and what we're talking about in the service-based business, do you think it should really be first, before we work with the client, there should be not an interview with the client to identify if they are the type of client you will serve, because you do in the service-based business, what we're doing, you do need a coachable client. You do need a client that is attentive, who's responsible, and who is going to be action orientated, especially if there are things they need to do in their business that an advisor sees and of course suggests that they see that by doing this thing, there will be a benefit for the business owner and the business.
So I think it depends.
Okay.
I think sometimes you really can't tell if someone's coachable because they may say,
Yeah.
I want this. And we're like, okay, let's put together a plan to get this. And then 3-6 months in, the expectations aren't being met. Whether it's on the advisor side or the client side. So that's that. Should there be an interview process? I think when people meet, they're always on their best behavior. As the advisor, you should definitely have some type of assessment that allows you to determine if this is the type of client that you want to work with. The other piece, and our mentor do this, you have a personality assessment. So you can kind of get an idea of the type of personality that you're dealing with, and then you kind of adapt to communicate with that person based on their personality type. So I think there are a few things that you can do. I mean, obviously, we're all going to run into clients that you start working with and you decide that you no longer want to work with for whatever reason. Or some people from the door, like I know there are certain characteristics, certain traits, certain behaviors that if I see with a client, I just don't want to work with them. I don't care how much I could potentially charge for that project. It's not worth the headache. So I think you should have some type of assessment, determining factor of what type of client you want to work with.
And would you say that comes from experience?
That is 100% coming from experience. I appreciate everyone for giving us an opportunity, but we've definitely experienced a few relationships where, after a few months in, we realize that it no longer works for us. And what I try to do with that is you don't want to burn the bridge, right? When you realize that this relationship is no longer working, you may have to take an L. And I've learned that sometimes it's better to take that loss financially than to try to, hey, I worked for you for 3 months, here's an invoice, and kind of go back and forth with that. Sometimes it's just much more beneficial to walk away and just charge it to the lesson.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to actually just highlight, because there are no losses in entrepreneurship. There are only lessons. And what we found is that with every lesson, there's a blessing. And if you understand that process, you'll understand how to learn from these things and not actually be upset or in your feelings or take these things personal, because it is a business. There is an expectation of what you should be delivering. There is an expectation of what that customer should be receiving. And I believe that you should undercharge, meaning that whatever you're delivering is more valuable than what you are charging. So the customer or client feels like they're getting value from what you're bringing to the table.
I wouldn't say undercharge. I would say over-deliver.
Even better. I like that because you are going to do the work. You are going to fulfill the customer's or client's expectation.
We try.
We try, yeah.
We try. And when we know that we won't be able to deliver on what we say we're going to deliver, we're willing to walk away.
And I don't think we've really had to walk away from not delivering for a client. What I think we've walked away from are clients that were not coachable, that no matter what kind of direction we pointed them in or what kind of situation we created to have them participate in to make sure that their business is a much better business, that when they don't take the action, and some people do this too, we're just talking about the service-based business as advisors, they expect you to do a lot of that work. Unless it's a deliverable, these are things that we have to identify, like you said, within the first 30 days, because there are boundaries to things. If you don't create boundaries, I've also understood that can backfire on the entrepreneur because they haven't set a boundary, they haven't set a list of deliverables, and they say, I'm going to support you in this part of your business, and it's this, and let's go.
I've done that.
Exactly. And then you come to find out that you either charge way too less of what you should have charged, and you don't know when the engagement ends because there is no standard, there is no checklist. Right. You're just working now.
Right.
So I think those things should be highlighted because we, again, trial and error, learning from our mistakes, and being in situations like that is actually helping us become better entrepreneurs and business owners.
Absolutely.
So now we've talked about service. Let's get a little bit back into product-based businesses.
So just to kind of wrap up service,
okay.
I think 3 of the things you want to do if you have a service business is a welcome or an introduction, right? Even if, and I'm saying this now, and it's actually making me think about some of the things that we've done. We meet people, we connect on LinkedIn, and then nothing, right? And those could potentially be our clients. So I think a welcome, just saying, hey, my name is da-da-da-da, and just introduce yourself. Yeah. And one of the things you could do is actually ask them, how can you help them? Not
always.
How can you provide service, but how can you help them? So definitely a welcome. Set expectations.
Yep.
And like you said, set deliverables. And I had one other thing, timelines. If you say you're going to do something in 90 days, do it in 90 days. If you can't do it in 90 days because of whatever barriers, address those barriers and extend the timeline for another 30 days or so. But you have to be in communication. So that's it for the service industry.
Okay. Now let's get into the product-based industry because a lot of that is... We've talked about it in the previous episodes, but the customer service, what your expectations are for smaller businesses that are providing a service or a product, and what clients should be expecting in the beginning of their, like, there's no onboarding per se for a client in that regard, but what do you think are one or two of the most important pieces to making sure that customer has a great experience, and not only just a great experience, but is encouraged to return and patronize you again?
So I think a great welcome. I think you can actually plant the seed when they come in and say, like, okay, I'll see you next time, right? If you
just as simple as that,
right? If you start to build relationships, like one of the things that we did when we had the Artistic Cafe is we start to pick up on people's habits. So I know, like, okay, this customer comes every Friday. So when I see them, I'm like, all right, I'll see you next Friday. Or, hey, I haven't seen you in a week. What happened? Or where have you been? And just kind of build rapport and relationships. So get to know them, even if it's something small.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is energy and culture in your space is really important. People can feel when the energy is off. People can feel when you're off.
Yeah.
I think it's just really important to have great energy. I've walked out of businesses because I walked in and just was not feeling the energy. Like I was like, all right, if you're looking like that now, I really don't want you serving me or prepping my food.
If
I
anything.
just jumped into restaurants. But yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Well, for me, I'm kind of, I think, a little bit around what you're saying. When you enter a building, you want it to be attention grabbing. You want it to be inviting, and again, you want that positive energy. You want to be, you don't have to be celebrated, but what you do want to do is you want to be seen, like you said.
Yeah.
And being seen and people having that energy and the place looking clean. They have the thing that they're asking for. They're not out of stock. They're not always low on inventory. They're always attentive.
So here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is why humans are really important, right? Because if it's a small business, I tend to give them grace to a certain extent, right? And I'll give you a few examples. There's a business we used to go to and order food. The wait was easily 45 minutes. We kept going, right? And then we learned, all right, the wait is 45 minutes. Let's call and order our food first.
Yeah.
Right? So now we call and order. When we get there, it's still a 20-minute wait. But the food is delicious, so we're okay, right? Well, that's that. There's another business that we frequent where the food is okay. They've been kind of slipping lately, but the food is okay. But one of the employees, we really like this employee. So we go for this employee. Like the floor sometimes can be a little sticky, whatever. But we like the employee, right? So we go looking forward to seeing that specific person. We have another business that we go to, and every single time we walk in, it's just the way that they say hello, right? The energy is good. The vibe is good. There's nothing spectacular about the service, but I think just the way that we're welcome, just the smile, and I even think they put us to sit for the most part in the same seat every time we go in. That alone keeps us going back. So we'll drive past, we'll leave our town and drive past several businesses that probably serve better food than they have, just to go to that business because of how they make us feel. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell this story really quickly, and this is what kept us going back. So right before COVID, it was the Friday before everything shut down, and we went to this business, and they came and was like, hey, we don't know what's happening, but we just got a message that we have to shut down. And they gave us like a free round of drinks.
First time there.
No, that was our first time at that business. So a year and a half later,
when they opened back
up, we went back to that business. That drink probably cost them $2. And we have not only been to that business, but we've taken several people to that business. We probably frequent that business, about 10 times a year? Easy, From that one gesture, from that one, hey, we have to shut down. Sorry for the inconvenience. Here's a free round of, I don't know, we were drinking, whatever. But that's my point. That made me, I can't speak for you, but that made me feel seen. That made me feel valued. They apologized, even though they had no control over what was happening. And because of that, they now have regulars.
And so, so how you treat the customers, and like you said, those, what some would consider small things, small gestures of appreciation. I think even if in the first 30 days, if there's some kind of, I don't know, like a sale, but a incentive, you come in 20% off for first time customers. Things like that will actually bring people in. That's the first piece.
Yep.
And the second piece is to retain them by providing the great service.
Right.
And the ambiance. And like you said, feeling seen. What's a turnoff is, I think, when people come in and they really are more salespeople than people's people.
So we say transactional.
The transactional.
Right? We have some business owners that are transactional. Yeah. They want your money, and
they don't care about how you feel.
They don't care about, as long as your check clear, that's all that matters. Like, there's no smile.
Yeah.
Now I have to think about a business that I went into, and I was like, okay, I'm never coming back here. And what happened? Can you think of a business that you went into and it was just so cold and transactional that you're like, yeah, I'm not coming back?
And fed up from the beginning? It's one, I'm not going to say.
You just have to tell the story.
Oh, so the story is, we went there, I think, was it just us, or we went with some family members? I think it was with some family members. And it was in the city. And we went out there, and we went to some place that is an infamous bakery, if you will.
Okay.
And we go inside, and the space was not clean. It didn't give clean to me. It was very dingy, almost looking.
I'm trying to think, but keep telling the story. Maybe I'll remember.
And we went there with some family members, and it was a slight little line in there, but we were waiting for someone to come work with us and, help us with our order. And they were really just like, took their time. Again, it's in the city. People hustle and bustle. The majority of people that come don't frequent. They're traveling from outside the country or from other places and visiting. So more than likely, they don't see these people more than 2-3 times. You know what I'm saying? In a
right, they're used to tourists, so
yeah,
they really don't care.
Yeah, so I guess I took that and I was like, oh man. But there are other locations they have that are actually much better.
Did we end up eating there?
No. Well, what we did, we ordered something from there and we took it back, and that was kind of 50-50 too. But they have a reputation. Let's just say that location, we were talking about in another episode.
Tell me in my ear. Tell me in my ear.
So we were talking about other locations, and those locations are well. And we talked about in another episode about expanding businesses, from one location to multiple.
Yeah.
And creating the culture and the tradition and what things should look like to every customer. It should be repeatable. They didn't have that. If they did have it, the owner was not checking up on the employees and management.
Got it.
And so I think that you can't please everyone all the time, but what you can do is make an effort to make sure that the customers are being welcomed, they're being seen, they feel valued, and you actually do value them. Okay, we're running low on patience in this country, it seems, and that people are just not as personable as they should be, as a company would have them to be.
Okay, so I have my story. Mm-hmm. So there was, it was actually a laundromat, right? And I usually drop my clothes off, and I went there, and I picked, the bags were heavy. So I took the bags out of the car, and I took them to the back area where they have to weigh it and tell me how much it costs to do the service. And I took it all the way to the back, and it was a male employee, and maybe this is me, but I brought it all the way there, and he was like, can you pick the bag up and put it on the scale? And I was like, honestly, the bag is really heavy. Can you put the bag on the scale for me? And he was like, no. And I said, okay. Just to be clear, I just want to make sure. Mind you, this is me, this is him, and the scale is probably right there. Mm-hmm. And I said, just to be clear, you're saying that you're not willing to pick the bag up and put it on the scale. And he was like, yeah, if you want it on the scale, you put it on the scale. And I said, okay. And I picked my bag up and I took it back to the car, and I never went back. Mm-hmm. That to me was pretty bad customer service. So
Yeah.
what customer service experience have you had that either first interaction or over time that you're like, okay, I'm never supporting this business again? But I try to give second and third and fourth and fifth chances because, we've owned small businesses and we know what it's like. And especially with our laundromat business, we were open 363 days a year. So regardless of what you're going through, what you're doing, we had to show up, right, and provide great customer service. So I definitely get if you're off a day, if someone calls out, or if you're overwhelmed, or just life in general. So I really try to give small businesses grace and different opportunities, period.
Yeah.
However, you have to, within the first few interactions, at least show that you appreciate the customers and you appreciate them not only spending their time with you and your business, but spending their hard-earned money.
Yeah, and that's, to me, a lost opportunity for future business, for advertising, because usually if you do a good job within any first interaction of a business and a customer, and they do a great job, you're willing to tell your people about it, because they say birds of a feather flock together. So if you like getting your laundry done, more than likely there are one or two other people in your circle that like to get their laundry done. And if they do a good job, you can tell those people that, hey, these people, try them out. See how you like their service. So I think whatever you do in those first 30 days is actually going to reverberate from that moment of how that customer or client felt. I think we had a decent conversation about the first 30 days of onboarding a customer and what that looks like and what it should look like.
Yep, what onboarding makes or break your business, and welcoming customers make or break your business, because you don't know who's walking in the door. Right?
That's it.
Matter of fact, another story. We've had spaces where we wanted to rent out the space for events. And the customer service was horrible. Just initially, just trying to set up, hey, can I get a quote? Is this date available? Can we get a contract? We just struggled with that. That alone made us kind of turn us off from using that facility. And because of that, another business has been getting our dollars every year because they have great customer service.
Yep. And some people will try to take advantage of, quote unquote, in this case, I would say their popularity as far as their name recognition. And that doesn't give you the right, though, to not perform and not be a great business, and treat people fairly. So with that being said, I think we're going to wrap this up. I thank you again, Keisha. I think this was a decent conversation. We had these stories we have. We have some stories. So with that being said, I want to say thank you, everyone, for supporting the Wilson Podcast. We would like you to like and share. We are getting toward our 10th episode. With that being said, my name is Corey Wilson.
And my name is Nakisha Wilson.
And this was another episode of the Wilson Podcast. We will see you on the next one.